Hello and welcome to the KCK Inspiring Moments with Kailyns radio show. I am your host, Kailyns John Louis, and it is my honor to be on the air with you all today. Just a friendly reminder to be safe when you are around others, as we are in a time where we're in summer and you really just want to be careful of all of your surroundings. Also, before I go any further, I encourage you right now to download the Hallelujah 95.3 app so that you can listen to the show on the go with your family and friends. Make sure that you tag someone, have them tune in today, because today's discussion is going to be very empowering. Just to get right into it, as you have seen from tragic recent events, our world seems to be in total disarray. I mean, one of the most talked about issues that's trending right now is the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, causing many to question the future of America. All of our lives, we've been taught that our country was built on the idea that all men were created equal and that these men have fundamental rights. Yet, we now have leaders taking away the rights of many simply because they have the power to do so. So my question is, what does this mean for our future? Will everything we learned in history repeat itself? So today I have the honor of having an amazing guest with me, Ms. Marie Radigan, who is running for candidate for the Florida State House of Representatives, District 8, with me to discuss what happens now. But before we bring her in, I do want to give you a quick introduction. So my guest received her BS in broadcast journalism and her master's in African American history at the Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. She is a first-generation college student who serves as the second vice president for the Tallahassee branch of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, or some know it as the NAACP. She has over 7 years of community organizing experience. You may have seen her tragic story of being falsely accused and arrested at 13 years old to interning with the first African-American judge over the Juvenile Delinquency Division here in Tallahassee. She's been advocating for the people from Amendment 4 to galvanizing students to vote. The list goes on, and she is also a political contributor on the Shwanda Show, which airs in 44 million homes and can be seen nationwide on Afro TV, Comcast, and Xfinity. She inspires to be the change that she wants to see in the world. She also is running to be the first African-American woman to be our next Florida State representative for House District 8. Her name, again, is Miss Marie Rattigan, and I am pleased to have her as a guest today. Welcome to the show, Ms. Rattigan. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, everybody. I am so excited to be here, and thank you for that amazing introduction. Yes, I am Marie Rattigan, a two-time graduate from the illustrious Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. And what a time as this to be a rattler, but to be a woman running for office. And I'm going to kick it back to you.
Yes, I am so glad to just have you on. And as y'all heard, I mentioned she had a arrest at 13 years old, and it kind of just blossomed and inspired her whole reason for helping other people. So why don't you talk about a little bit about your story?
Right. So when I was 13 years old, I was arrested and I could have been funneled into the criminal justice system. Thankfully, with the support of my parents and God, that did not happen. Of course, I had to go to court. And when I stood before the court, the judge asked me if I wanted to take the plea deal. And I told the judge, no, I am taking my case to trial. And I took my case to trial and I won. And my record was dropped. And of course, there's a lot more into that, but that inspired me to be the change that I want to see. After posting it on social media, I got millions and millions of views, but people started pouring into my inbox saying this happened to me at this age. This also happened to me. And I was like, what better time than now to not let anyone box you in, but to create your own story, right? And change the narrative. But I knew that God made it a full circle for me, because then I started interning with a judge here in Tallahassee over the juvenile delinquency division. And it was amazing.
Wow, what a story. What a story. I mean, talk about a powerhouse. I mean, you go through all of that. You went through tragedy and turned it into a triumph, allowing
Yes.
yourself to be able to help other people and just use your voice for change. And so now that you have this way of being able to use your voice, you're running for a position to be with the Florida State House of Representatives, District 8. And I know that comes with a lot of responsibility, a lot of being able to be a woman, to represent so many different groups and demographics. And so, with you being in this position, I mean, like I stated earlier, there's so much going on in the world, specifically with this overturn of Roe v. Wade. And there's topics of gun control. You just have so many things. But first thing I want to hone in on is gun control. I mean, our world is very, very crazy trying to see. There's been so many mass shootings. Even recently, on July 4th, there was just a mass shooting at the parade where they were there and a shooter killed at least 6 people and injured several, just out of the mere fact that they were able to have access. And so, as going into that position, being able to be a representative, what is just your position on gun control, and what are your plans to combat the violence we're seeing in our community and just in the state of Florida?
Right. That is a very good question. And we've seen it both locally and across the country. We need to have more gun safety measures in place because everybody is being impacted. And it's going to take our community to come together because we keep us safe, right? We've got to take it seriously. We have to elect people into office who's not going to be brought out by the NRA, and we can do it, as myself being a legislative aide and sitting through the position and making that sacrifice of putting in my 2 weeks as a legislative aide to run because I couldn't do both. I know that with being in this position, sacrifices are going to have to be made for the people. I have to advocate for the people 24/7. And I think, we talked about the NRA and not being brought out, but you mentioned a recent shooting in Chicago, and it shows us that we have to take guns seriously. And I think it's crazy that a gun has more right than a woman to choose what happens to her body. And even with now, there could be a law put in place with teachers having to arm themselves to go into work, and that's not their jobs. And we need to pass meaningful laws that will help.
We definitely need those laws passed. I mean, I'm a 16-year-old going on 17, about to be a senior in high school, but there's so many other youth, so many peers that are younger than me that have been in school. And the fact that we now have to deal with what the future looks like, what we may have a time where somebody just is not mentally there, and then they just decide that they're going to use that anger and take it out with a gun. They're going to go around and just take lives of other people because they feel like their life is worthless, and they feel like they don't have people there to be there for them. And so I think that I definitely agree with needing to have laws and policies in place because it is a big issue. I mean, you can't just turn a blind eye and see this person's getting shot, this community is being broken down because of guns, and not do anything about it, especially with you mentioning that certain rights seem to be over others. I mean, what does that look like now? What happens now when you're in a world and somebody's personal rights are over another person's right to bear arms? What does that look like?
Right. And I think we are in some crazy times right now. But I think with yourself being as young as you are and having these conversations on this radio show is definitely amazing. But with the overturn of Roe versus Wade, we know that there has been continuous attacks on abortion, right? And this is just something we've seen happen right now. And even 68% of Americans wanted Roe versus Wade to remain the law of the land. And in Florida, 60% of Floridians believe abortion should be legal and want Roe versus Wade to stand. And I think this is just a direct attack on women, the right for a woman to choose what happens to her body. But I think this is going to be an attack on everything. We've seen a senator recently saying that they're going to go for Plessy versus Ferguson soon, and Broward versus Board of Education. But this is an attack on same-sex marriage. This is an attack on the LGBTQ plus community. This is just an attack overall. And if we ain't free, we all ain't free. And it's going to be a trickling effect to see what happens, with legislation in Florida, but across all the different states. And I think our call to action to everybody is we need to get organized. We need to protest. We need to knock on doors, get registered to vote, because the time is now to be a mover and a shaker and a change agent. And we will not tolerate this assault on our right. And we have to vote people out of office that does not take a stand on the right for a woman to choose what happens to her body.
That is a true statement. I mean, these are fundamental rights. I wouldn't think it's sad to know that just even with this overturn, I am young, but I mean, this could affect me. It could affect future generations. It could affect people that I know right now. I mean, they actually just had something where there are just a lot of young children where they are dealing with having to deal with this new law, trying to decide, will this affect my future? Will this affect what happens if you encounter somebody and you are not intending to be in a relationship and then they end up raping you? There's so many different things that this overturn did. I mean, a lot of people right now are set and focused on the fact that, yes, it is a big issue. The right that they're trying to regulate women's bodies is not okay. But I like what you mentioned, the domino effect.
Yeah, it's going to be a domino effect, and we must make Republicans feel the consequences of stripping away our rights. As voting starts in the primaries across the state is critical. We turn out in masses because there is a lot on the ballot. We have Mickey Mouse on the ballot, right? We have the right for a woman to choose on the ballot. We have the congressional redistricting maps on the ballot. We have the LGBTQ plus on the ballot. We have immigrants, teachers, union workers, everything and all things are on the ballot. And it's a time for us to get organized, to mobilize, and to get these people out of office if they do not take the right stand and be on the right side of history.
Right. I mean, there's so many people in power right now that have the power but want to be corrupt. We got to do something about that. And like she said, this is a time to stand up. I know there are a lot of people listening. If you are 18 plus over and can register to vote, please do so. It is a big thing. It's not just getting you to vote because that's what you have to do. But no, you have ancestors, you have people long before who fought for us to have the right to vote, for us to be able to do things. Now, I unfortunately don't have the right. So for those who are going out and are voting, you are voting for me and my younger generations. You're voting for those like me and my fellow peers who don't have the say. I mean, we can protest, we can petition, we can do all we want, but we're not able to have that right to make that change happen in the polls. So please get out and vote.
Right. Absolutely. And there's a lot at stake. There's a lot at stake in this election. And, what better time than now to galvanize the people?
Right. I mean, in my opinion, I feel that with our country, I mean, you hear a lot in history about how much our country was built on this and it was built on that, freedom and being able to have equality. But what happens when all that leaves? I mean, right now, in my personal opinion, love is something that is not shown as much. So many people are in a time of hurt because maybe they lost somebody from COVID. Maybe they don't have that one friend in their life. Maybe they lost a friend to gun violence. Maybe they just had something going on and they're so hurt that they're just pouring out all this anger into the world. Or they have this ideal about how the world is supposed to be set up. Who's supposed to have equality? Who's supposed to have these rights? And right now, we are in a world, if we don't have those people step up, it's not going to be the best thing for us, which is why I am just very hopeful to see that there are other people like you who truly care and truly want to make change. I mean, we have to have other people in office who really care about the views, not just of adults, but of youth. I mean, we are the future, and that's what's going to take to be able to get real change.
Right. And I think investing in our community is the most important part, right? Investing young people into office, having young people run to shift that mindset. But we know that our children are the future. So we need to equip them with the resources that they need to be successful. That means books, that means schools, that means adequate health, And we talked about abortion, but abortion is healthcare. Healthcare is an
Mhm.
issue. We have housing, gas prices are high, affordable housing is an issue. There's just a lot at stake. And I think, like you said, it's time for a change.
It is. I mean, right now, I hate to say it, but I feel like we're living a nightmare because our
Right.
world and our country is so divided. And
Oh,
so I'm
God.
wondering, in our opinion, with so much, in your opinion, with so much going on, with, like you said, gas prices, so much divide, so much hurt, so much anger, so much negativity, how do you think we can bring our country back together so that future generations can regain hope in the American dream?
Right. And I think, a lot of us are really sad at what's happening, globally with climate change, but also with different states. Like we've seen Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd. Then we had COVID. And I think locally, what we can do is shift the narrative and become a part of this local conversation, even when we are all unhappy because of the different states and issues that are happening. We can achieve a lot when we come together locally. So I know that a lot of things are going on globally, but Leon County and Gadsden County, how can we help you, like our surrounding areas? Of course, I'm not running for Congress, but I'm running for House District 8, and to stand together with all of those other elected officials and city officials to bring about some change so that, it's not going to happen overnight, but it's something that we can see.
That is very true. I mean, coming together is one thing that I stand firmly on. I believe that when multiple people come together, great impact can come. I mean, I
Right.
also rely on my faith in God to be able to push me through these times. And
Yeah.
so, knowing that you have all these leaders, I feel like we don't have as many leaders who truly want the best for people anymore.
Mhm.
They're just so focused on the title, they're focused on what
Right.
comes with it, the popularity, the
Right.
followers. But I
Right.
feel like they've lost such a great sense on what being a leader truly is. Because I mean,
Right.
in my opinion, if you're gonna lead, you're there to make sure the greater good is okay. I mean,
Right.
I'm seven, almost I'm 16 right now, and I have the common sense to know that. So what confuses
Right.
me and what makes me feel sad and upset and disappointed is that there are people who are older than me who don't get that
Right.
simple concept.
Right. I agree 100%, which is why I'm running, right? I think it's time for us to shift this narrative of you have to be a part of this group and you have to be a part of this, or you have to be a part of this to run and see change. As a leader, you're picking up the sacrifice and you're serving the people, and you're not supposed to be self-serving. And I think that's what's happening with a lot of these people who are getting into politics, is they're putting the people on the back burner, and they're getting into these positions for their names, for that name, like you said. And I think what sets me aside from all of the candidates is Marie Radigan has always been doing the work, from Amendment 4, from organizing, galvanizing students, from bailing people out, from meeting with city officials and the state attorney during COVID, having these uncomfortable conversations. I have always been doing the work, and running is new to me, but fighting and advocating for the people is true to me. It's what I've been doing. And even my story at 13 years old, that I'm a fighter, and that I am ready for this position to fight for the people. It's not about me. This is the people seat. And in order to represent the people, you have to survey the people and see what they want. So you'll be able to bring their testimonies and their voices to the seat. But that's why it's important for us to go out to the ballot box and galvanize our people. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Are you registered to vote? Are you voting? Get active. With Florida A&M being the best
Woo
institution,
woo!
we are one of the few HBCUs that has a voter precinct on our campus, which is amazing, right? And also FSU does too. Getting students out there to vote, especially as a time as this is going to be very critical in this race, because unfortunately our grandmothers and our great grandmothers had more rights than we do. Listen, July 1st, the Florida 15-week ban went into action. Of course, there was a judge that ruled it unconstitutional, but it's been on pause, thankfully, to Planned Parenthood and ACLU. But there's a lot of things that are on the ballot. And that's why I'm, keep reiterating that this is the best time to galvanize people to get out and vote. We've been in the streets protesting for George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Jamie Johnson, Tony McDade, but now we really have to go to the ballot box.
Right. It's very, very true that they should go to the ballot box. Everybody should really stand up. You got to use your voice for change, because we have one voice for a reason. It wasn't given to us just for us to sit around and complain about change, but not do something to actually change it. And so I feel that if you all listening, if those who are just wanting to make real change, if you actually take that second to maybe start a petition, maybe make sure that you have everything that you need to stand up, whether that's protesting, whether that's speaking to other people and hearing their concerns and finding ways that you can come together as a community to make it better. We got to work together. I know we're so divided and we have so many different opinions, but a lot of the times, if you sit around and you just talk to someone, if you listen to how they feel, you may realize that your ideas and their ideas are not that far apart, and you can find a way to have that common ground and to really work together. And so this whole thing with what happens now, I know I talked about gun control. I know we talked about everything with Roe v. Wade, but I really just for a quick second want to be able to share something with you, because in preparation, I've been talking about for the last couple of weeks about gun control and how it's been affecting youth. And I had someone appear in the community to tell me just how they felt, even right now with so much going on with gun control, about returning to school in the fall. And so I just want to read their feelings about how they feel and just be able to see what you think about it and different ways we can change this. Because it says, I do feel apprehension about the upcoming school year. As a person of faith, I've been raised to trust God and pray for our leaders. 2 things I'm trying to implement into my life as I continuously hear about violence in my community. These gun cases are not just an adult problem. True, everyone assumes that youth live with their heads in the clouds, and some of us do. However, most of us push forward with this aloof attitude while holding the frustrations, confusion, and injustices of life in our hearts. I still remember watching the Trayvon Martin case with my grandmother. I remember the reports of the elementary Sandy school shooting interrupting the girls' night I was having with a cousin. I remember the terror I felt just a few years ago when Valentine's Day took a new layer of dread. Not only was I reminded what all other teenagers of young teddy bear / candy obsession, but I had to worry about memories of a deadly shooting in my own state, just a few hours away. Every day really is a gift. I shouldn't have to wonder which one of my classmates may snap today. I shouldn't be grateful every time I end the school day without incident. I shouldn't have to talk with my parents about the possibility of shootings when considering attending a concert, party, or school dance. I don't want to keep growing up with fear. I'm a positive person who loves embracing optimism, but I also can't ignore the truth, and that is something needs to change. We need more conversations that encourage embracing emotion instead of locking it up to explode, and more regulations that limit people who end up overwhelmed. We need youth to be treated like youth. Parents have to pay attention to the signs, and we as youth need to start building a culture of this community instead of competition. It won't be overnight change, but we can start taking steps to help this generation live past 23. That is another youth just in the community.
Wow, that was scary. That was like really hard on the heart, because I came out of the Trayvon Martin movement, right? And I organized the protest at my high school when Trayvon Martin died. And, I always considered him to be my brother because him and my brothers played for the same part. But that's just heavy on the heart, because it's true. Their feelings are valid. Like, it's hard for you all to want to go to school and, have to do these drills. When I was in middle school, high school, we were doing tornado drills, and now you all are having to learn gun drills in case something, a mass shooting happens at your school. And I think the trauma that goes into that, the trauma of you all having to be out of school for COVID, but then the masses were in an uprising because of all of these things that was happening, and it's hard on the heart. And what I can say is we need to take mental health more seriously in our
Yes.
community. We need to have resources for the kids for them to get involved in, aftercare programs, because a lot of these things are happening because the kids do not have anything to do. So now they become a part of the criminal justice system, right? And something else that we need to talk about as well is the school to prison pipeline, because it's happening where kids are being suspended out of school because of attendance, because of horse playing. But no one really is asking, like, did you eat this morning? Are you okay? What happened at home? And while interning with the judge over the juvenile delinquency division, it really sat deep in me that it's more to life, right? It's more to life. Like, we have to hear each other out, but we also have to take the youth important and take their stories into account when we're creating these programs. Because if they don't want a program to play soccer, why implement that program? If they're asking for a program to listen to music or create beats, arts is something that we're driven to, right? Painting, create something that they want and not what the adults want for them. And I think another important thing is, I love this quote by Martin Luther King. It says, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of convenience and comfort, but where he stands at times of challenges and controversy. And that's important because we have to look at these people who are running for office. Are they being vocal about these issues that the youth are talking about? But also these people who are in office, are they not putting into restrictions, laws that could stop this gun violence from happening? Or are they being brought out by the NRA? Are the NRA giving them money to be quiet and not choose a side, the right side of history? And I'm taking an oath, when I get in there, this is something that I want to create a bill for, to stop all of this gun violence. Of course, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take progress, right? It's going to take the community. It's going to take all of us, because we all have to be at the table together to have this conversation, because that story was impelling. And just to think, you can't go to school and be safe. You can't be in your own home and be safe. You can't be at a 4th of July parade and be safe. We need to take measures, and quickly, quickly.
Yes. As she said, I mean, you heard it. I mean, I have no better way to close it. I mean, you heard it there. This is what's going on in the world. If you're listening, wake up. I know you've heard all these different things, but I asked a question in the beginning. What happens now? I'm not just asking that as a random thought, because what can happen is we can all decide to work together and make real change, or we can sit down and let all these things flow by and not do anything about it. So I'm asking you, when you're listening, what are you going to do to be the change? How are you going to impact other people with your life? How are you going to do something to make change? I mean, it can be as small as sharing something on social media, talking with a friend. Do something to really make change happen. But as we are getting ready to close, I want to thank you so much, Ms. Radigan. This conversation was so empowering. I have so many good golden nuggets to keep from it, and I'm just inspired by you and your story. And I want to give you the way to be able to shout out any way people can reach out to you so that they can connect.
Oh, thank you so much. And I want to say thank you so much for being a young change agent at just 16. Oh my God, I remember being 16 and leading marches and organizing marches. And you just inspire me to continue to be that woman that I am, right? And as the only woman in this race, like I said, coming out, what better time than now to be a woman and to be running? You can follow me on social media at Marie for Florida, and that's on all social media platforms, even TikTok, y'all. Get into TikTok. You can follow me on my personal as well at Lyrical Marie. And all I gotta say is thank you so much for having me. Peace and blessings to you. But I'm so excited to see how are you going to be a change, because you already doing. You
Thank
already
you
doing.
so much. I am so happy that this conversation is great. But just want to go ahead and say to follow me. You can connect with me on Instagram and Facebook at Kailyns Caring Connection. But if you want to find everything, just go to www.kaylynscaringconnection.com. I thank everyone for tuning in. I appreciate all your love and support. And if nobody's told you today, know that I love you. Catch me on the next KCK Inspiring Moments with Kailyns radio show. I love you all and have a great rest of your day.
Hey y'all, it's Kailyns, the Executive Director of Kailyns Caring Connection, and I have some exciting news. My birthday is coming up on July 21st, and if you know me, you know that I love caring for others and giving back to our community. There is something that's become a burden on my heart, and that is the alarming rate of homelessness in the Tallahassee community. So this year, as a part of my birthday celebration, I'm hosting a hashtag We Got Your Back Service Day, where we'll be providing backpacks of care to the homeless. This event will be held on July 23rd from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. and I need your help to ensure this event is a great success. I'm asking for new or gently used backpacks and other items. You can visit my website at www.kaylynscaringconnection.com to see how you, your organization, your church, or your group can connect with me.